Everyone learns about George Washington, the first president of the United States, at some point or another. It may have been in an early elementary history class, during a visit to Washington, D.C., or if you immigrated to this country while studying for a citizenship exam. In whatever capacity, most learn about Washington through similar facts and major achievements. Some of his best-known accomplishments include winning the American Revolutionary War against the British and helping to form the U.S. government through creation of the Constitution. But these facts and timelines don't really help us grasp who George Washington really was as a person. What were his political views? How did he view his role in government?
All these biographers had said that he was too marble to be real, and we don't know him. And then I would come across something like, he liked Madeira, he liked hoe cakes, he liked to dance, he disliked intimacy with someone he doesn't know, he didn't like idle chatter, he wanted a meritocracy. Those things make him real to us.
That's Alexis Coe, author of the new book, You Never Forget Your First, a biography of George Washington. In it, she delves into who Washington really was as a person and highlights some of the misconceptions around America's founding father. One such false fact was that he was a Republican. In fact, however, Coe says he was a Federalist, but rarely ever publicized himself as one because he disliked the division political parties created.
When he left office, in his farewell address, this was the biggest thing he said. 2 points that feel very relevant to us today. Partisanship is a danger. And if it gets out of control, what you're going to find is parties holding on to power, doing whatever it takes to hold on to power, and basically not getting anything accomplished for people, actual United States citizens, Americans, because they're so busy thwarting each other and getting as much as they can for the people who are supporting them.
Washington was not your typical modern-day politician by any means. He was neutral in many senses and saw himself more as a unifier.
He would have never ever criticized other leaders publicly or, defended himself. He didn't think that was appropriate. He also took his position as the grand unifier quite seriously. We think, everyone wanted independence. Everyone wanted to rebel against the British Empire. That's not true. There were plenty of loyalists. This was essentially a bit of a civil war. That's also why it went on for so long. It wasn't over in a day. It wasn't over in a month. It was over in 8 years, 8 long years. And the country, was sort of taking these alliances into its infancy. The French Revolution happened. Some of the country thought that we should help them out, even though we didn't even have a navy and we weren't stable. We didn't really have money. We were born with enough debt to strangle us. Other people believed that we should maintain ties with the monarchy. And he thought, no, I've got to be neutral. And that's how he operated in every sense of the word.
Another disillusion that many people hold is that George Washington was an unparalleled military leader throughout his life. But Coe says, in fact, he lost more battles than he won.
When he becomes the general, he has been retired from the military since his late 20s, and he's reading books about military service. It's sort of funny. It's like basically military service for dummies. He's reading it and he's catching up as fast as he can. But he had gifted leaders. Benedict Arnold, the reason that hurt so much at the time, a part of it was that he was one of the greatest generals that Washington had. He's not fighting in these battles. He is in a tent most of the time, receiving and writing letters and instructions and asking for supplies and payment. And that is the focus of his military endeavors during the time. He's retreating. All sorts of things are happening. But for the most part, his mind is elsewhere.
You may not have known that Washington was also a master of spying and the use of propaganda during wartime.
He was obsessed with spying. He was a spy master. He got really into the theatrics of it. He got a lot of good information from it. He also was a master in the court of public opinion. He understood propaganda. So at a certain point, he makes sure that people in the colonies, as they still were, if there are stories of British atrocities, whether they're not following the rules of war because they won't recognize America as a nation, or British soldiers are at one point raping young girls on a farm and dragging them back to their headquarters, Washington knows those stories mean something, and he makes sure that they're printed in the congressional records and then they are disseminated throughout the country, not just to galvanize Americans, because this was a civil war. A lot of people wanted to remain loyal to the crown. They thought they could do things differently. But he needed to show everyone that, look, no matter what you think, you're not safe with British soldiers around. We need to get them out. And he also wanted to show the world, because this is nation building. He thought about the country not just as, okay, we're going to win and then we'll figure it out. He wanted the country to start out as strong as possible.
As we look back on the first commander-in-chief, we remember a true visionary, a fierce leader who was not only focused on winning the war against the British, but determined to shape the country into a dominant and unified force on the world stage. After doing just this, he knew when it was time to bow out of the top position in politics and declined to run for a third presidential term, even though it was within his power. Washington left behind not just a young nation, but a model for leadership rooted in integrity and foresight. His calm decision-making and sense of duty helped define what the presidency could and should be. A role grounded in accountability, unity, and the long-term good of the country. You can learn more about George Washington and our guest Alexis Coe by visiting viewpointsradio.org. Also, check out Coe's book, You Never Forget Your First, a biography of George Washington, available online and in select bookstores. This segment originally aired in March of 2020 and was written by our executive producer, Amira Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jason Dickey. I'm Marty Peterson.